We are looking at Stir Fry Squadron 17, featuring the trial of Robotman. Is he a man or monster? Is he alive or dead? Has he thoughts within his head? We'll just pass him there. Why should we even care? We have a cover by Joe Cue Ball and an upskirt shot of Robotman. This is a good issue and it picks up from the previous one. We have the Stir Fries getting dropped off at their HQ by Wonder Woman in her invisible plane. They teamed up with her in the issue before this, which I reviewed last month. They and her battled Nuclear, the human magnet. They get back only to find the police have arrived to arrest Robotman. The police are out for Robotman. This issue is all about Robotman, but this is picking up on a subplot strand from some earlier issues. There was a sleazy lawyer who was trying to claim Robotman was property to be inherited by Robotman's family. The lawyer found one of Robotman's relatives and conned him a bit because, really, the slimy lawyer just wants to ultimately make money off of Robotman. So the big debate of this issue, the big argument, is whether Robotman is a person or if he should be treated like property. His teammates in the Stir Fry Squadron don't take too kindly to the police trying to apprehend their friends. Johnny Nesquik in particular has a lot of visceral reactions to the treatment of Robotman in this issue. He has I can't say character arc because there's not enough motion in there, but he does do stuff in relation to Robotman. The rest of the team defends him too. Allbran, Liberty Beale and Captain Steel. But Robotman, he surrenders peacefully because he doesn't want to cause any fighting or damage. This issue goes heavy with the image of Robotman in chains. It really loves this idea of the steel-plated hero held by and bound in chains. You can tell because whenever they have that picture, it occupies most of the page. Robotman, I don't know that much about Robotman outside of Stir Fry Squadron. He first appeared in the Goldie Age of comics, the 40s, and he was created by the same team that Superman was. Other than the name and some slight similarities in themes, there's not any real connection between him and the one from Dome People. It wasn't ever meant to be that new one was a revamp of the old one. That one was introduced as and originally named Automaton. What I know about this Robotman comes from this series, and especially issue 63, which retells his origin. This issue tells it too later on. But it's a basic idea. A scientist was making a robot. He got gunned down in his lab by some burglars. his assistant transplanted his brain into the robot body. Very simple, easy to follow stuff. There's some other parts about the assistant getting arrested as the main suspect in the murder, but I don't think it's entirely important to this issue, so I won't mention it. Well, I did mention it. Actually, it is important because everyone thinks he's dead. Nobody knows who Robotman is. They think that the scientist is dead. Robotman used his new body, his new life as Robotman, first to exonerate his assistant, and then to fight crime as a superhero. Eventually, he joined the fight against the Nazis, and he became a main member of the Stir-Fry Squadron, which brings us up to where we are now. I think this is a good issue of the series. That is part of the reason why I reviewed it 8 years ago. Why I picked it out to review then, and why I have picked it out to review again today. Roger Thompson, he has a lot of problems as a writer, and this series indulges some of his worst habits. But I think this period is where the book hits a stride, where you can either look past the faults, or it is an issue like this where the good far outweighs the negatives. I might be biased though. It could be this page that makes me appreciate this issue, because the seedy lawyer is getting a guy to testify in court, to lie in court, saying that he saw Robotman kick a crippled newsboy. Wonderful stuff. Robotman in jail then lets himself out of jail by putting on his human disguise. This probably needs explaining. Robotman, he had a human disguise called Paul Dennis. He put on a mask and some gloves and fooled everyone somehow. Robotman leaves the jail to go and talk with his lawyer and the Stir-Fry Squadron about his defence. I don't know why they couldn't do this legally. Why they couldn't just meet him at the jailhouse. Anyway, we learn that all the Goldie Age heroes, not just the Stir-Fry guys, they all have Robotman's back and will defend him in court. And it's so sweet and touching to Robotman that he wishes that he could cry. Very tried and tested material for Roger Thompson. That's something you can depend on Roger Thompson for. A complete lack of any shame in rehashing the hits. So the world reacts to the news involving Robotman's upcoming trial. And Johnny Nesquik is at a bar, and he's kind of looking for a fight, which he promptly gets into. He has a bar fight with some drunks who were slagging off Robotman. There is a pun there if you want one. I said slagging off, and Robotman is slag, like the metal. Johnny Nesquik is upset about the Robotman thing. The rest of the team are going along with it, and Robotman wants to have his day in court to prove his humanity. But Johnny Nesquik finds the whole ordeal to be an insult, and he's angry, and that is why he is beating off random idiots. He's joined here by Tubby. Tubby is his newsboy sidekick, who doesn't appear too much in this series, so don't worry about that. but I did realise he was in Goldie Age. He had a brief appearance in Goldie Age #4. And we will be coming back to that series in a few pages' time. And here he is in chains again. Chains, my baby's got me locked up in chains. The issue is framed around the courtroom drama, and like most comics that do so, it is a Perry Mason style trial. It also has celebrity witnesses. His teammates, Allbran, Liberty Bell and Captain Steel all testify, and then sworn affidavits from Superman, Wonder Woman and Stephen Hawkman. Wonder Woman, she met Robotman in the issue before this, obviously. Superman met him... Well, there's another time travel complication. But he did meet Robotman in the first story arc in the book. Props to Roger Thompson for not insisting on telling people that the first story had a time reset thing. Stephen Hawkman, he is the Justice Society of Superheroes' main liaison with the Stir-Fry Squadron. I should explain what the Stir-Fry Squadron is, really. Technically, the Squadron is comprised of every wartime superhero, all of them, but the book itself does focus more on a core lineup with all the other heroes dropping in and out. Then we have Robotman's lab assistant relates Robotman's origin to the courtroom. We get another telling of his origin here. And this issue is where the world in the comics learn about Robotman's origin. What I do find quite satisfying, and it shouldn't be so satisfying really, it is the same writer, only a few years apart, but the origin we tell here is completely in line with the one that we get later on in issue 63. Roger Thompson didn't invent or add new elements that invalidate this one. We only have a 3-page origin here, whereas 63 flashes it out and adds more characterization. But all the beats are still here. His girlfriend, who he stood up to work on his robot, that's in there. I didn't even mention that because I deemed it to not be that important to explaining the character. I suppose it's refreshing to see a writer not want to revise or change everything to make it meet up more with a new idea or a new take. Roger Thompson, and it is one of his biggest downfalls too, really does believe in upholding these 40s stories and not changing their meanings. There's his girlfriend learning that Robotman is in fact the man that she thought was dead. And I remember in that ad video I complained about this. The ceiling collapses and Robotman can therefore demonstrate to the judge and a room of onlookers that he is a hero. And he can even save the lawyer who was out to get him. The lawyer had a heart attack when the roof fell in, and Robotman rushes him to the hospital. And it turns out the roof collapsing was caused by Johnny Nesquik, who wanted to show everyone that Robotman was a good guy. I hate the performative resolution. So far they were juggling the idea, the debate of him being a man or being an object, and it's not a reasonable conclusion to bang on a gavel and go, he held up a roof, so he is definitely a man. A block of wood can do that. What was even the point of swearing in all those witnesses and listening to their testimonies if all Robotman had to do was show off for a bit? After Stir-Fry Squadron, after this series, there are two possible endings for this character. The first one, this was canon before Christmas on Infinite Earths, and there hasn't been anything to say it's not still canon to this day. Robotman was asleep for a long time after the war. He shut down, and then he awakened in the present day. His hard lab assistant had died during those decades, but had his body preserved so that they could transplant Robotman's brain into it, so that Robotman gets to be human again. That's fine. It's not very exciting, but that's fine. The other one is in Goldie Age, which isn't canon, but then some of it is canon. And Robotman is one of the things where you could possibly say it is canon, because there hasn't been anything since that contradicts what happened to him. He lost his humanity totally. After the war, he became all machine. Shows what this fucking judge knew, eh? He was found by that story's villain, Spirit of 76, who added this completely unfeeling robot to his superhuman force. You see Robotman working for him, assassinating one of his political rivals, and then he crushes an innocent woman's head in view of everyone in the final part. The former villainess, Huntress, fights him, wanting to avenge her friend whose skull Robotman just smashed in. Robotman is, I said when I reviewed those, characterised horribly. It doesn't match the character from this issue or this series at all. In the end of that, he winds up dying when Keith uses his powers to electrocute both of them. I don't know why you would want this darker and more miserable endpoint for Robotman, but it is an option. The issue ends with the team being happy that Robotman has been declared a living life form, and they are approached by a guy on the street who they brush off, but then it turns out to be the villain, Brian Wave. He'll take the lead in a couple of issues' time. That's sort of the start of the Man-Ape saga. But first, next issue brings in another one of Roger Thompson's obsessions. It also introduces Johnny Spider to the team. He will go on to be an important character to the title. There's also that annual, which takes place before these two issues that I've looked at. I will be reviewing that next on my Stir-Fry Squadron coverage. This is a good one. I've pointed that out throughout the video. It's not perfect, but I think it's a great sample for the series. It gives a lot of time to this, at best, C-list character. It uses the other heroes enough that you don't feel like they have been forgotten about in what is clearly a Robotman story. I think it's just a good issue. It's not the best issue of the series either. It's a good issue. That's what it is, a good issue. I sentence this comic to 7 thumbs up.